about a diamond ring that you gave to somebody new. A few weeks later, she left you for a waiter. That's something I never do. Are you tired of babysitting girls? Yeah, I hate to say it, but that's what you get. I am not much better, but I'm much better for you. Some people call me crazy, 'cause I'm dating, but I can't get over you. And I don't wanna say it, but I'm waiting for the day you want me to. I don't want anyone, I don't want any love, I don't want anyone but you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julian, Jaquez, and I'm here with Chef Bruckner as well as Alexandra Govere from the Real World San Diego.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, my first question is for Alexandra, and it's where are you originally from?
I am actually originally from Zimbabwe. I was actually born in the States, though, but moved to Zimbabwe when I was really young, and I lived there with my dad, mom, and sisters. We went back and forth between a village in Bakita, where we had no running water, no electricity. We had to poop in holes. It was kind of the stereotype, and Harare, which is the capital city.
How long did it take you to get to San Diego?
It took me a few hours. I took the train to San Diego, which is really cool because I haven't really taken a train in a long time, and it's not a way you normally think to get from place to place, you know? But it was really fun.
So why did you want to be on The Real World?
A lot of reasons. Honestly, I was really, really shy before I started The Real World, and I found myself just, I hadn't made new friends in a really long time, and in school I did have fun, but I didn't really leave with like a big, tight-knit group of friends, and I didn't really get that awesome dorm experience, and so I honestly was just kind of looking to do something that I had never done before to make new friends, and honestly to kind of be in a situation that I knew would make me uncomfortable and I knew would force me to grow as a person.
Were you nervous to meet your other roommates?
I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I had no clue what to expect, and I knew for a fact that we would all be so different from each other. So I was definitely nervous about meeting them and about, trying to get to know people who, normally you may not, get to know or get to meet.
Now, Alexandra, when you first met your new roommates, were you judging a book by its cover, or did you allow yourself to get to know them as the season went on? And, did any of those first impressions change as the season went on?
So I try to make it my policy to never judge a book by its cover. But, there are a few assumptions you make when you meet somebody, and I can definitely say that most of those assumptions were completely, changed by the end of the experience. And I don't think in this season you can really judge any of us by our cover. We all are so much deeper than you would assume, from a first impression.
All right. Now, you're in the house, you're meeting your roommates, something that the viewers don't get a chance to see all that often are, all the equipment, all the cameramen, sound crew, following you guys around. How aware were you of all those things, and how did you adjust?
It was honestly, in the beginning, it was really awkward, having a microphone on, having camera people kind of follow your every move. But the one thing I can say is that the crew is so good at their job, and they're so great at letting you live your life while simultaneously filming it, and not making you really feel like they're there all the time. They're so great at that, and I don't even know how they do it. I can't even explain it, but over time you just get so used to it, and you really do stop kind of noticing it after a while until you bump into a cameraman accidentally.
So, you weren't self-aware at all in the house? You weren't, thinking, as the days went on, oh, I'm being filmed, that kind of, goes away? Or does it definitely wears off, and it wears off much faster than you would assume. And I think the only few times that you really become self-aware of it is when we go out and other people are yelling comments or making comments about the fact that we have a crew, but right.
It's funny how quickly we all got used to it.
What did you think of the house?
Oh, my goodness. I don't think I've ever seen a house so big. It was so pretty. My favorite part of the house is probably the beds, because my bed at home is like sleeping on a rock. And they gave us these amazing beds to sleep in, and the view was just ridiculous. You know, you could look out at any time of the day, and you could see the ocean and surfers, and it was just beautiful.
You had a boyfriend going into the house. Were you, like, a little nervous about being away from him for so long?
I was, and to be honest with you, I wasn't very certain that we would stay together. You know, I kind of came into the experience with an open mind, and you know, kind of looking to see what would happen, who my roommates would be, if I would meet anyone in San Diego. And so, to be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sure that my relationship would work out, but, you know, we did our best.
Where did you meet Byron?
I met Byron years ago in a gymnastics class. We were such little kids, and I remember I used to always go into the class, and I would beat him at handstand contests, which he denies to this day. But we always, you know, compete with each other, and our parents were friends. And we weren't great friends as kids, but we found each other again on Facebook about a year ago, and just, you know, met up and randomly started dating again.
In the episode that we watched last night, you easy to say, you come off as a very good-natured, intelligent, artistic, who seems like you would never really be friends like with any of the, you know, your castmates. You just seem much more real, I guess. You know, and it's first impressions too of the viewers. That's what we see of you, and came across very well. But do you have any friends similar to the housemates that you met on the real world in your real life?
Honestly, not really. I would definitely have to say that each and every person in the house is something completely different from what I'm used to. And a couple of people in the house remind me vaguely of my friends back home, but no, I definitely don't have any friends like anyone I met in the house. But that, to me, is an awesome thing, because what's cool about the show is it does put you in a situation with people you probably normally never meet, because we don't hang out at the same places or do the same things. And, you know, it gives you a chance to get to know people like that and see if there is a potential for friendship.
So with that potential for friendship, you know, is there a certain castmate that you're going to stay particularly close with? Or, you know, you talked of, you know, your thoughts on what a soulmate could be, and it might not be what everyone else might consider to be a soulmate. Were there any, like, potential, maybe future or current soulmates that you met in the house?
I can't say too much, but honestly, from the very beginning, Frank and I, you know, were able to have really great discussions and conversations, and that's something that, you know, we definitely explored over the summer.
Did you feel like Frank was attached to you way too early on?
It's such a hard topic. The funny thing about me that a lot of people don't believe is that I'm really, really naive when it comes to recognizing when people like me or when guys are attracted to me. You know, like, I'll be walking around, you know, downtown with my friend, and I won't even notice when guys look at me, and my friend will have to point it out, like, did you notice that guy's looking at you, or he's attracted to you? So it took me a little while to even figure out that Frank liked me, also because he wasn't saying these things to my face that you hear him saying on the show. But do I think it was fast? Yeah. At the same time, I can't really be offended when somebody, you know, thinks I'm nice. So I think it was really sweet of him to feel that about me so quickly. But yeah, it was definitely very fast.
Since Priscilla is underage, would production allow her to drink?
Mm-hmm.
When all of you would go out, what would Priscilla do?
So a lot of the time, honestly, like, I like to go out with my roommates and I like to dance and stuff like that, but I'm not a huge partier. So I kind of split my time between going out and then making sure that I did stuff with Priscilla so she didn't, you know, get left out all the time.
See, this is what makes you more normal than the previous real world castmates. Because, you know,
how so?
Because you're a nice person. You know, many others would just, you know, let that poor girl be, and or you know, drag her out and you know, just get her to do things maybe she doesn't want to do. But that's good.
Well, I would definitely say too that you can't assume too quickly who is and is not nice. You know, like I would say that everybody in the cast, you know, has very nice qualities, and it is hard to tell up front, what people's intentions are, but you definitely can't assume that just because people like to party or people go crazy that they're not nice people. It's just that we all have, things we're dealing with, and we definitely all right now are just, we've only seen, a little bit of everybody so far.
When Frank told you about the whole Priscilla and Nate hooking up situation, what did you think?
So from what I could gauge from that situation, it seemed to me that both of them kind of wanted it. But I just kind of let them know it's very hard to tell in situations like that where one person draws a line in relation to where you draw the line. And so it is very easy kind of for things to get misinterpreted, especially when people have been partying beforehand. So my advice was just for them to talk about it. If it really was an issue, then it was something that I think Nate needed to discuss with Priscilla. But as far as I could tell, it definitely seemed like Priscilla wanted that kiss too.
All right, so I always grab Twitter questions as well. That way, the Twitter world is involved as well. My first question is from Paige McCall, 55, and her question or comment was, "You seem so level-headed and not really this party type. What made you try out for the show, and were you a Real World fan?"
I'll start with the Real World fan thing. Actually, it's really funny. A long time ago, when my family first moved back to the States, one of my friends gave me some tapes, and they were of the Real World. And you had to watch them really late at night when my dad was asleep because we weren't allowed to watch anything from MTV at home. And if we did, he'd come in the room and be like, "What are you watching? No, turn that off right now." In accent. And so I'd watch these tapes, and what's funny is the first time I ever even learned what it meant to be gay was watching the Real World. And that's because in Zimbabwe and in a lot of African countries, it's still not socially acceptable for a man to be with a man or a woman to be with a woman. And I have, guy friends who even can't hold hands with their boyfriends in public for fear of being arrested. And in Uganda, for example, some people are trying to pass a bill that could sentence the death penalty if people perform certain gay acts in public. And so I just really had no clue that it was even possible for someone to be gay until I watched The Real World. And likewise, I come from a place, Zimbabwe, where HIV is a huge issue and AIDS, but not discussed about very much. And the first time I saw that issue discussed was watching The Real World San Diego with Pedro. I don't know if you know his story.
Yeah.
But he's one of the first people to openly discuss and show himself, dealing with HIV, dealing with AIDS on television in public. And so for me, The Real World has always been something that I cherished because it opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it showed me that it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to talk about things that people aren't necessarily talking about. And it was kind of my introduction to American culture. And so I've always thought of it as a great show and a great learning experience, and that's a big reason why I tried out. I just wanted to be a part of something that really helped me acclimate to society. And on top of that, I just honestly, I wanted to have a good time. I've spent my whole life working, Since I was 3 years old, my parents had me taking summer classes. I started taking college classes when I was 12, and I just kind of never had a break in time to be a kid, So I wanted that experience. I wanted the time to just, have fun, meet new people, do something I've never done before, do something a little crazy, and then on top of that, to be a part of something so amazing like The Real World that, helped me grow up.
Are we going to get a chance to see the crazy Alexandra?
You'll get a chance to see crazy in my own way. We're all crazy in different ways. For some people, crazy is going to a bar and getting wasted, and for some people, crazy is climbing a 200-foot rock wall with no harness, and you'll just have to figure out which one is me.
All right, so our next Twitter question is from Lipsy South Cow, and her question is, have you watched any other seasons of Real World?
I watched the season in Hawaii. I watched the season in San Francisco. I've seen a couple others here and there, and I watched last season in Vegas.
Who was your favorite Vegas cast member?
Ooh, that's a tough one. From just watching the show, I absolutely loved Naomi. She just seemed so real, so funny to me. And although we're very, different people, she just kind of reminded me of myself a little bit. and her hair. You know, all mixed girls, or not mixed, but all girls of color can relate to each other and the big hair. We struggled with each other.
One of the first things that we learned about you is that you are a singer-songwriter. And I was just wondering, did you give thought, or are you giving thought to the idea of how much exposure you're going to get from the real world as a serious singer-songwriter? Do you think this is going to affect your music career one way or the other? And, like, would you even want it to? Like, do you want to be known as the singer-songwriter from the real world, or do you want your music to kind of be able to stand on its own?
Well, I was working as a songwriter for a while before the show, and what's funny is I had just gotten out, you know, before I went to San Diego, of a pretty tough situation work-wise involving music, and I was really, really discouraged about music, about the music business, and I, you know, was really low on myself, and I honestly came in kind of feeling like, you know what, I'm just not going to make any music this summer. I'm just going to live my life, have fun, and put that on the back burner for now because it had been stressing me out for so long. And the only reason I actually wound up pursuing music while I was in San Diego was with the encouragement of my roommates and of the people I met in San Diego, because I was really down about it. I didn't think I was good at it. I had never even performed for anybody before, despite working as a songwriter. I'd never sung, like, even for my own mother. And so I was really nervous, and, you know, lucky for me, I have roommates who are, you know, encouraging, and they really helped me kind of come out of my shell in that way and feel comfortable, you know, performing my stuff for people. And their encouragement helped me realize that it was something really important to me and something that I wanted to do over the summer. But I definitely didn't come in with those intentions. Surprisingly, I came in expecting not to do any music.
That's crazy, like, how things work, you know, like you're talking about how you're, you know, a shy person and you wanted to come into the house, and you just said how, you know, music was furthest thing from your mind, and you just kind of wanted to have fun and, you know, learn a little bit more about yourself, but throughout the experience. Right.
I can say one thing that I think we all got out of the experience is being in that house, you really, really learn about who you are and what you want. You know, when you're kind of removed from the outside world and you don't have distractions you're used to, like we didn't have, you know, personal phones, we didn't have television, we didn't have movies, we didn't have all these things that we use every day kind of to distract ourselves. We didn't have Facebook or Twitter or anything. You really have a lot of time to think and evaluate yourself and evaluate the people and the things around you, and you very much come to terms and learn about who you are and what you want. So although I came in kind of trying to like repress the musical side of myself, being there really made me realize who I am and how important it really is to me.
So, well, let's stay on that. Let's talk about you in the house, nothing else to do, being encouraged to pursue your music. I mean, did you know, you're put in a bunch of different situations throughout the course of the season, and were you ever thinking to yourself, or were you ever put in a position where you had to consciously make a certain choice or decision, and in the back of your mind you were thinking about your music career and or whether or not, you know, there's going to be a future for this after the show? You know what I mean? Like, were you ever put in that position or thinking to yourself, maybe I shouldn't do this if I want people to eventually buy one of my songs on iTunes? You know what I mean?
No, honestly, because, I mean, it's called The Real World, and the whole purpose of the show is to put a bunch of people in a house and for them to be as real as they possibly can be, you know? So I don't think at any point any of the things I did too consciously, and you very quickly learn that if you think too hard about the process, you can't enjoy yourself. You know, like, who wants to live their life thinking about every action, thinking about the consequences, thinking about how it's going to affect them months, years, you know, from now? So I definitely didn't really make any decisions like that consciously. I don't know, and honestly, I kind of came in thinking, you know, even if I do make music, you can't expect too much to come from doing a reality show. I think all it does for you is give you a platform to work hard afterward and build something for yourself, you know? And so I think all of us, you know, kind of left the house thinking, okay, now that people, you know, a certain number of people are going to be watching and listening to things we have to say, now we have the chance to actually work hard and establish something. But I don't think you can really leave, a reality show and just have something from the get-go. You still got to work for it, and you have to work really hard.
Now, where does your singing career stand now?
Right now, I'm just writing songs every day and looking at booking a cafe tour. And honestly, the one thing I really want to do is do a tour of homeless shelters, because one thing I learned in San Diego is that there are a lot of people out there who don't have access to entertainment, who don't have access to music, and I really just want to bring music to people who can't afford it.
That's a pretty good message for anyone that's listening. You have to let us know when you're in the Philadelphia area to come.
Oh, thank you. I probably, honestly, my dad lives in Pennsylvania now, so I'm in Pennsylvania a lot, and I take the train from State College to New York, where I used to. I haven't in a really long time, and sometimes the Greyhound. So I thought
Alexandra, I'm wondering, the things that we saw in the first episode, for any fan that's going to be listening to this when it's soon after posted, are there things that we don't see on the show? Things that maybe hobbies that you're into? We're asking you a lot about your music and the reason why you got on this show. But is there anything else that you're into that we don't really get a chance to see?
I'm not sure yet, because I haven't even seen all of the episodes.
Good point.
I don't know if there's anything that I love to do that they won't show, but I will say that, I definitely came into the experience thinking, what are, the things I love to do, and then I'm going to do them. And the cool thing is, we all kind of got to be kids again. You get to wake up every morning. You get to think to yourself, what am I going to do today, and who am I going to do it with? And that's that, And it was a great opportunity to have a good time, to explore who, I am as a person, really to find out who I am as a person, because I think even though I thought I knew who I was coming in, I was in for a big shock. I didn't. And it was a great, great, great growing experience for me. And it's something that, I'm going to take out of this, and something that was so amazing that by the end of it, I didn't even care if the show was going to air. I was like, wow, I got so much out of this as a person that whether or not the show airs is completely, that's whatever to me. I feel like I learned so much, and I hope that in watching the show, other people can grow with us too, because I'm not the only one who grew. I'm not the only one who, went through things and learned to handle myself in different situations. And I think that that's what people are going to get out of this season, and I definitely think that we're kind of going back to the old school version of The Real World, when it was about social issues, when it was about teaching people lessons, when it was about putting 7 very different people in a house together and watching them talk things through and learn about each other and learn to understand each other's different viewpoints and cultures, and that's something that I'm really, really excited to see.
If you were ever offered to do a challenge, would you do it?
What's funny? In the beginning, I thought that I wouldn't, but the more I think about it, the more I think, I could probably kick butt on a challenge. I'm little, but don't be fooled. I'm really, really strong. Grew up climbing trees and stuff, so, I figure it could be a really fun experience. And I definitely, one thing I do love to do outside of music is I love rock climbing, I love bungee jumping, I love, sort of outdoor extreme sports. So I feel like the challenge could be something really fun.
You could be a sleeper pick in my challenge fantasy draft.
I know. Don't sleep on the little Zimbabwean girl.
That's right. We won't sleep on you.
You have a challenge fantasy draft? Oh, no.
Doesn't everyone?
Be careful. I might beat CT in an arm wrestling match. Well, I think the cool thing about this show is that at the end of the day, we are all just real people, living our lives. And it's so funny to me when people say it's scripted, because it is absolutely not. We literally, from the moment we walk into the house, get to do pretty much anything we want to do, say the things we want to say, and that's that, And in some senses, I always joke that it's almost realer than real, because we're in a situation when you really are thinking about everything. You have no distractions. You really are evaluating and having long conversations, and you're talking much more often than you would, at home with your friends.
You talked about how there's no TV, no internet, or Facebook or Twitter or whatever like that. I mean, are you allowed to read? Can you pick up a magazine or a book?
Yep. Yes, we are allowed to read, and that's one thing I actually got to do a lot of this summer that I haven't done in a really long time, is read a bit.
How many clothes did you lose when production went through your clothing for logos and stuff?
I actually didn't lose anything, I don't think. I lost a beanie. I think that's it.
I seen that Ashley had on, like, Victoria's Secret, and I thought that was, like, pretty interesting. Usually they don't,
yeah, that's neat.
No. Yeah, that's a surprise. And then there's, like, new sponsors this season. Like, it's no longer Sundrop and Subway. It's, like, Rockstar.
Yeah. I mean, in case you didn't know, all we drink is Rockstar, and all we eat is Subway.
Yeah. Obviously, it's, like, free Subway for 3 months. I would do the same thing.
Oh, my goodness gracious. That was awesome for me, honestly. The fact that, we could have free Subway all summer long was really, really great. Although, I can't say that I'm eager for more Subway now that the summer's over. I'm going to need a few weeks, but then I'll be back in there. Actually, there's a 24-hour Subway across the street from where I live, and I can't lie. I do go there for cookies every night.
All right. Thanks, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to you. Thanks, Mr. Bruckner, for stopping by.
Hopefully we get to talk again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, bye, Alexandra.
Bye.
Heard a few things about a diamond ring that you gave to somebody new. A few weeks later, she left you for a waiter. That's something I never do. Are you tired of babysitting girls? Yeah, I hate to say it, but that's what you get. I am not much better, but I'm much better for you. Some people call me crazy 'cause I'm dating, but I can't get over you. And I don't wanna say it, but I'm waiting for the day you want me to. I don't want anyone, I don't want any love, I don't want it.